inside, outside. So he wants to absorb it all mentally behind the scenes. Then Houston, Stefon Diggs getting the first look at him in a Texans uniform at OTAs, or at least a practice uniform. See what he's going to look like in that offense. Talking to people around the league, they believe they're going to have one of the best 3 receiver sets in the NFL, along with Tank Dell and Nico Collins. The feeling is that Diggs' vertical speed might have fallen off a little bit when he was in Buffalo, but that's okay because Houston needs him as that savvy route runner that's going to win in the intermediate range of the field. They have the younger guys that can go deep.
It's June.
So that's a pretty interesting point to say that they think that his speed has kind of went down a little bit. So the truth is, and kind of like he just said, Jeremy Fowler, even if that's true, which I'm not saying it is, quite honestly, because I'd like to know what they're fully basing that off of, quite honestly. But even if that is true, I don't think that would affect his success with Houston Texans like at all, quite honestly, just because of what they're hoping to get out of Diggs and what they already have with Nico Collins, Tank Dell, and where they're at. And I think one of the best things that Diggs brings to the table is just another elite, it is going to sound so silly, just catcher of the football. And because of that, he has to be dealt with. I mean, you have 3 wide receivers right there that all 3 of them you just have to deal with. One of them is going to get open. The only way that they couldn't get open is if you have a poor OC. And we already know that the Houston Texans have a great OC, an elite OC, an OC that I think will get a head coaching job sooner than later. So, again, sometimes when you have all these, because make no mistake about it, the 49ers, they have this elite roster as well. If it's not Shanahan, if it's some other coach, if it's like, I don't know, whoever, they're not getting it. All those guys aren't getting open. Those guys aren't getting the ball, and they're not all flourishing. But with a CJ Stroud and all of these weapons and a sufficient O-line, like these guys are going to be open. So really what matters more than anything is your hands at this point. Honestly, the way how I see it is being able to just catch the ball when the ball is thrown at you, when it's put on you. You don't need to have a guy who needs to fight his way to get open, which is what you needed probably a lot more with the Buffalo Bills, because I don't believe in what they were doing offensively. Everyone knows that I'm super high on Josh Allen, but I don't believe on how they went about their offense, where it really is just kind of like, go get open. And it's just like, that is an exhausting way of playing football. When you have a great offensive coach, a great offensive mind in the room, players find themselves open a lot more easily. It's a lot more effortless. And that was something that I saw with the Eagles last season, which was like one of the most obvious things that they have with some of these great weapons like Devontae and A.J. Brown, and every single pass was contested. I mean, it was just brutal. Nobody was open. And we know A.J. Brown is an amazing wide receiver. He has not lost a step, and yet, like, it was brutal to get him the ball in open space. There was no easy catches for him. That is the mark of a poor OC, of a poor game plan. The Texans don't have that issue at all. So it is funny to be like, okay, maybe he's not as good as he was, but to me, it matters differently, right? Because being able to run the routes, being a reliable figure, which is what he's proven to be, and just the hands catching the ball when it's thrown at you, catching the ball, which again, it sounds so silly to talk about that with wide receivers. It's like, well, that's their job. It's like, yeah, well, go ask the Kansas City Chiefs. Andy Reid can scheme anyone open, and Patrick Mahomes can throw the ball to anyone all over the field. If you can't catch the ball, you can't catch the ball. So to me, that ultimately matters more than anything. I think he'll find himself open plenty of times because there's just so many pieces that you have to deal with. Their run game is also going to be established. It's crazy to me. To me, as long as the Texans stay healthy, like, I just can't see how you're going to try to game plan them defensively, right? Like, how you're going to stop all of these people. It's one thing if you were like, hey, CJ Stroud's actually not that good of a quarterback, and if we do this and do that, then he'll struggle. Like, I don't see that. I don't really see that. I see so many weapons that he has to deal with, and he's going to be able to distribute the ball, buy time in the pocket. Like, he'll be able to handle everything that comes his way. A lot of times when you see a team like this, usually there's a quarterback that has legitimate deficiencies. Maybe they get flush out of the pocket, they get happy feet, and they always just try to, run. Or maybe like, they don't really have that strong of an arm, so you have great weapons, but there is a lot of reliance on the OC to getting these guys open. Maybe like you can kind of unpack it in so many different ways. I don't see those deficits with the CJ Stroud. I mean, he can seemingly do everything. It's not to say that he's perfect at every aspect of his game. Every quarterback has a weakness, of course, but it just seems to me that this team has been built to be very complementary, and it's just hard for me to imagine. Like, I can't see the struggles anywhere. There's other teams that I could be like, okay, I could see this, I could see that. They're a little weak here, they're a little weak there. I don't know how comfortable I am with this guy. You can see that argument. I can paint that about a lot of teams. With this, it's so hard for me to see the deficit. I really do not see it. And they've also bolstered up their defense, which then again, it helps your offense, right? Without a doubt. So it's just, I can't see how the Texans aren't just straight trouble for the teams around the league. I just can't see it. So hard. And unless CJ Stroud proves to be a one-hit wonder, which, to be very clear, I do not think that to be the case. I can't see how they're not going to be an absolute juggernaut, how they're not going to be a top contender in the NFL. The only chance that they don't have to be like an absolute juggernaut is if the other teams prove to also be insane. If the draft picks all hit for the Kansas City Chiefs, and now Patrick Mahomes has his free-flying, just insane offense and a great defense. If the Ravens and Henry end up being just a deadly combination with Lamar, right? Like, that's the only way is that I see these other teams also potentially getting better. But besides that, I see no step backs for the Texans, only gigantic steps forward, and I think it's going to be trouble for the league. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Texans and some of the things that we're already hearing about Stefon Diggs? Do you think it's going to be immediately positive, or do you think there'll maybe be some growing pains? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. Some of you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.